You know what I've been having a lot of fun drawing lately? That's right, Cheese. I've been having a lot of fun drawing chows lately. I think there's a lot of great reasons why it's fun to draw chows. One, they're adorable. Two, they're relatively easy to draw. And three, there's so many different types of chows that you can really just keep mixing and matching different types of them to create a unique chow, maybe for your Sonic OC, or maybe just to have your own Chao OC if you want. So in this video, I am going to show you how to draw chows. We'll talk about drawing neutral chows, hero chows, dark chows, and what you can do to design your own chow. But before we get started, my name is Jake, or Jake Creative, and I post lots of Sonic art videos and drawing tutorials like this one. So if you like the RC side of Sonic, then please subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any future videos or live streams. And without further ado,
clear super hard mode and become a true hero.
No thanks, Oma Chao. I'm all good. And without further ado, let's get.
I will show you how to play the game.
I said I'm good. Can you let me do my thing, please? Thank you. And without further ado,
you need to collect 7.
Okay, so like I said, chows are pretty easy to draw. I would argue that chows are way easier to draw than Moby and Sonic characters. And that is because a chow's body is mostly made of just circles and ovals. I think it's a lot easier to see with the dark chow right here. You can see that their head is just one giant oval. Their body is like a smaller circle, and then their hands are circles, and then their feet are just ovals. There's just a couple little details that obviously are not circles and ovals, but that is basically what a chow's body is made of. And that's what I think makes them so easy to draw. So if I were to draw a chow, I would start with that giant oval for the head. And you gotta be careful not to make it too ovally, like too skinny. There's definitely still a bit of roundness, a little bit of height. Like, you don't want to draw the head as too much of an oval like this, but a chow's head also isn't a perfect circle. So you also don't want to just draw a perfect circle like that. You really got to find like that perfect balance. So something like this would be perfect. Then we will draw a couple guidelines to show where the eyes will be. And with the body, what I like to do is I like to just draw a little curved line just like that, and then their body is just kind of this oval-y circle shape. It'll look kind of like that. And then their hands are just little circles. So what I like to do is I like to draw their hand about right there, and then I'll usually draw a curved line going up like this, and then another curved line right there, and that is your chow arm. And then again, just do kind of like the same thing on the other side, and then just draw like a little curved line right there, and then there is your other chow arm. And then finally, we'll just draw few ovals. So we'll have one chow foot right there. We'll have another chow foot coming out like this. And then there you go. That is the anatomy of a chow's body. So now let's get into some of the details. And for this example, we're going to start with drawing a neutral chow. So what we're going to do is I like to start with the little fin that they have, whatever this part of the chow is called that they have sort of in the back right here. And then once I draw the fin, I like to draw the little sphere that floats right above their head. You want to make it about yay big. You want to make sure you don't make it too small or too big. Something about this size is what I would go with. And now chows have long ovals for eyes. So we're going to draw one oval right there, another oval right about here, and then we're just going to draw another oval inside each of the eyeballs. It's going to be their pupils. Like that. And then we'll just draw another little circle right there. And another circle right there. And if you want, you can shade all this in. And then if you want, you can even give your Chao a little smile. Just like that. And then we'll trace over the shape of the head. And voila, there is your neutral Chao head. Now what we'll do, we'll just kind of trace over the lines that we drew for the arms. And you don't want to redraw the whole hand. You want to leave a little gap right here. Like you don't want to trace over this part. You want to leave this blank right here. And it's a little easier to see when I turn off this layer right here. You can kind of see this is what you want the final version of your Chao arm to look like. And we'll do the same thing over here with this hand. And we're going to have the foot go in front of this hand like this. So the foot's going to go in front. Again, if I turn off the layer, you can see this is what we're going for. And again, this is why it's important if you're drawing on pencil and paper and not using digital art software like I am, that you want to draw this layer very lightly so that you can go over it more dark when you're adding the little details like this. Because if you don't do that and then your anatomy sketch layer is all dark like this, it's going to look kind of messy after. So remember to sketch lightly when you're working on just the anatomy part. So I'm just going to go through and just trace over the parts that we sketched earlier, outline the other foot right here. And then of course, we can't forget about the little wings in the back. So we're basically just going to draw little sideways hearts in the back like this. Again, try not to make them too small or too big. A size like this is about what we're going for. And then congratulations, you have just finished drawing a neutral Chao. And if you want, you can even go through and maybe add just like a couple little lines for like where the little yellow parts are supposed to go. Like maybe you just add a little line right there, like there. A little bit on the feet right here, so that when you go in and color it after, you know where the colors are supposed to go. And there you go. That is your neutral Chao. All right, so next let's talk about drawing the hero Chao. And the basic anatomy is gonna be pretty much the same thing. It's just when we get to the little details where we start to see some differences. And also to practice drawing different poses, we're gonna try and recreate this pose in this reference right here. So to start off, we'll start off with the oval for the head. Made that a little bit messy. I'm just gonna clean that up a little bit, and we'll add the guidelines to show which way the Chao is looking. And then for this specific pose, the body is less of a circle and more of kind of like this rounded square. So there's a lot of roundness towards the bottom of the body. And then as you can see in the reference, it kind of comes up and curves in like this, and then curves kind of back out and comes back up like this. So it kind of has sort of like this bean shape. If you guys remember from my Sonic Anatomy tutorial where we talked about the bean shape of the body, that's kind of what's going on right here. It kind of has sort of like that smaller body type that you would see with like a Tails sort of character. And then I'm going to draw a little circle right here for one of the hands. And we're going to draw the hand coming up. And then I would just add like a little circle right here to sort of show where the shoulder is supposed to go. And then we're going to draw the line connecting the shoulder to the hand like this. And then we'll draw a second line going up like this. So that is one hand. And then the other hand is going to be kind of right here. And the arm's going to kind of come around the body like this. And we're just going to draw the arm coming down like this. So there are the arms. And now what we can do is we can add the feet, which again are just like little ovals. So we're going to have one foot coming down like this. And in this specific reference, there's a little bit of a curve to the bottom of the foot. Like this. Erase a little bit of the extra lines right there. And then the other foot. It's gonna come up just like that. And then the wings are a little bit bigger. So we're just gonna draw kind of a curved line going out like this. Curve back in like that. And then a second curved shape right there. So that's one wing. And then same thing on the other side. It's gonna come up like that. Curve back in like this. And then one more curved line down there like so. So this is your hero Chao anatomy. So now let's add in some of the details. So unlike the neutral Chao that kind of just has this fin coming up like this, you can see that the hero Chao has two little, they almost look like leaves kind of coming up out of their head like that. So we're gonna start by drawing those little leaf shapes. So we got one that's right here, and then another one kind of comes out, and then comes back down like that. So think of it kind of like the bottom, if you were like drawing like a flower, like these are kind of like the two leaves, and then you would draw like, you know, the little flower part right there. Just think of that, but without the flower part, obviously. And then because the heroes are the little good little angels that they are, they have a little halo at the top. So that's just gonna be an oval like that. And then we're just gonna add a smaller oval on the inside, just like that. Just gonna outline the head right here. And then once again, the eyes are just two long ovals like this. So we'll draw one right there, and then another one right here. And then with hero Chaos, the pupils are kind of reversed. So they're gonna have these sort of hollow white eyes, which are kind of cool looking, I'm not gonna lie. So you're just gonna draw another little oval inside each of the eyes like this, and then you can shade the outside oval instead of the inside oval like this. And then also keep in mind, the way that I just drew the eyes, it's like the hero Chao is looking a bit straightforward, but as you can see in the reference, the eyes are sort of looking to the side like that. So if you want this sort of look, when you draw the eye, when you draw that first oval, and then when you move on to drawing the second oval, if you want it to look more to the side, you want to draw that second oval a bit closer to the edge of the eye. So like, for example, if I draw the second oval closer to the right, it's going to make it look like that the eye is looking over to the right, just like that. And then vice versa, you would draw it closer to the left to have the Chao look like it's looking to the left. So again, we're just going to trace around the parts that we just sketched. And again, we want to leave a little bit of a gap right here when we're drawing the hands. Draw the body like this. And then for this other arm, we're going to have it come down like this. And then we're going to outline this side of the hand right here. And then we're going to leave a gap over in this area. And then there's your arms and your upper body. And then we'll just outline the feet down here. And then finally, add the little wings, one right there. And then one right over here. We'll also give the hero Chao a little smile, which their smile is kind of like this sort of V shape, like this. And then again, if you want, you can add little lines right here to show where some of the other colors are going to go, like up here. And then you can even shade in like the little halo if you want. I'm kind of shading this in a little messy for this example, but you can take your time with the shading, obviously. You don't have to rush it. And then one thing I totally forgot, I didn't even realize, but there is also a tail back here. So that kind of goes kind of where in between the foot and the body is. And then, of course, you can just draw a little bit of color right there. And there you go. That is your hero Chao. And then finally, for all you psychopaths that like to throw your Chao eggs against the cliff, we are going to round it out with the dark Chaos. And once again, like with the other two Chaos, they have the same basic anatomy. It's once again, when we get into the little details, is what sets them apart from the other Chaos. So again, we're going to try and recreate this pose. So as always, we'll start with the head, and then the dark Chao is looking towards the front. So we're going to have some front facing guidelines right here, as well as a front facing body, which definitely has that more circular appearance to it. And then I'm actually going to draw the feet before I draw the arms. So we have one foot that's kicked up like this. So it's basically just going to be an oval like so. And then we have another foot right here that's on the ground. Again, just another oval. And now let us draw the arms. So we have one arm that is kind of sticking out to the side right here. So I am going to draw the hand right about there. And then we'll draw a curved line coming in like this. And then another curved line coming around the back of the head, like so. And don't be afraid to make any little adjustments in case you accidentally draw the arm looking a little weird. And then the other arm comes up and sort of behind the head. So we're going to draw a line coming up like this. And then we're going to kind of draw the hand kind of curving around the back of the head like this. It's basically just kind of like one long curved line. So there's your basic anatomy. Now let's move on to the details. Again, we got two big ovals for the eyes. And then because they're a dark Chao, they're a little angy. So we're just going to draw some diagonal lines pointing inward like this. And then just erase above that line. And now there you go. They angy. Then we're just going to draw oval right there, and then oval right there. And then they also got big mouths. So we're going to draw big curve right here, and then another big curve coming down and around like so. They kind of look like little mini jack-o'-lantern heads. And then just draw some diagonal lines. That's going to be their pointy teeth. And then dark Chaos have this kind of zigzaggy fin on the backs of their heads. So when you're drawing their head, you're going to kind of curve up like this, and it's going to curve down right here. And then you're just going to draw a line curving up like this, and then back down like so. Draw a little line sticking out of the side of the head like this. Bring it up, and then connect it right there. And then dark Chaos have a little spiky sphere on the back of their head. So what I like to do is I like to start with the sphere shape like this, and then you may need to zoom in a lot, but what I like to do is then I just like to go around the side and then just draw little spikes. And you may need to rotate your canvas or your sheet of paper if you're drawing on paper. And then you want to try your best to make them all the same size. It can be kind of hard, but just keep practicing, and then you'll kind of get a better feel on how to draw these little spikes. And then once all the little spikes are drawn, just go back and just erase the sphere part. It's very tricky to not accidentally erase part of the spikes. There you go. You got your little spiky sphere. Actually, I kind of drew that a little too big. I'm actually going to shrink that down a little bit. Kind of like that. Something like that is more the size you want to go for. And then now, just like with all the other chows, let's just go through and just draw over all of our lines. Again, we want to leave a little gap for the hand right here. And then dark chows, being the adorable little devils that they are, they got little tiny devil tails. So that's basically just going to be a couple curved lines curving out like this. And then we're just going to draw a triangle right here. Kind of looks like a little curved arrow, sort of pointing out of their body like this. And then it's kind of hard to see in this reference, but you can kind of see there's like little wings coming out of their back. They kind of have like little bat wings. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a curved line coming out of their back like this. And then another curved line and a curved line there for the other side of their wing. And then on their chest, they have kind of like a knuckles style marking. It's basically just going to be kind of like drawing their smile, but without the teeth. And then as per usual, can color in certain parts of their hands and their feet and like the tip of their tail also. And then kind of like the hero chows, they have these white pupils, and then the outside of their eye can be kind of shaded in like this. In that reference, they're blue, but if you're just doing like a pencil sketch like I am, just use whatever color your pencil is. So there you go. There is your dark chow, and that covers drawing the 3 different alignments of chows. Now, obviously, if you guys have played the adventure games, then you know that it doesn't just end at the neutral, hero, or dark. Obviously, there are different types of these aligned chows that you can get based on the animals that they interact with or the chaos drives that you give to them. And depending on what they interact and what you give to them, their appearance can change, and they can have different characteristics that make them look a bit more unique. I like to use a website called Chao Island. They have a section on their website where they show the different chow evolutions and how each chow's appearance can change. So I will put a link in the description of this video if you guys want to go check that out. But yeah, once you start to get the hang of drawing chows, this is when you guys can start getting a little creative with it. So say, for example, I wanted to draw this hero swim chow right here. You can see that there's some characteristics about it that make it a little more unique, like these longer horns coming out of the back of their head. And they also have more fin-like legs, obviously, because they're a swim chow. So to do that, I would just draw the horns coming out the back of the head, just like this. And then when I'm drawing their feet, just kind of making sure that they have a bit more of this sort of pointed fin look to them. And this probably isn't the easiest angle to recreate that, but I would imagine they would kind of look something more like that. It also looks like it's kind of the same way with the hands too. They have sort of like a flatter look like this. And then they got like the green markings on their body. And it looks like they also have these like little fins or spikes coming out of their back as well. So that's definitely one direction you could go in if you like the hero chows, or if you like the dark chows, you could try something a little bit more like the dark flying type. So this chow kind of has like the knight style sort of evil jester horns sort of coming out the back of their head like this. So it would come down and they kind of point out like this, and then come back up like that. And then the head obviously curves down like this. And then their hands sort of have this sort of triangle pattern to them. So if you want, you can add that in as well. Kind of looks something sort of like that. It's actually more like a diamond pattern now that I look at it. Same thing on their feet as well. And then of course, since they're a flying type, they got their wings in the back like this. And then the spiky sphere on the top of their head is also a lot spikier, as you can see. Kind of reminds me, you know what this kind of reminds me of? You guys remember like those old screensavers where like the ball would kind of like turn into like a ball and then would kind of turn into like this like spiky ball? That's what this reminds me of. I don't know if you guys remember, but maybe I'm just too old now. I don't know. But you can definitely do that. You can just draw the spikes looking a bit more spiky, a bit more pronounced. So that is definitely another direction that you could go in. And then again, don't be afraid to also combine aspects from different types of chows as well. Like when I was designing Orko's chow, I think I combined the neutral run chows with either the neutral power or the neutral swim. I can't remember, but I basically took the little horns from the neutral run chow and then these back fins. I would assume it's probably the neutral swim chows because they usually have like the more fin looking body part. But regardless, the point being that you can combine different aspects of different chows in a way that you can make your chow OC more unique if that's what you're wanting to do. Maybe you want to make a chow OC or a chow that's specific to your Sonic OC depending on their appearance or their personality. So like maybe you give them these horns in the front like this, but then you also give them the fins in the back, like so. And then he also had the fin kind of curving up in the back like this. And then he had his little sphere hovering like right here. I'm actually gonna fix the head shape a little bit. I feel like I made it a little too ovally. And then again, maybe if you're designing a chow that's specific to your Sonic OC, maybe you give them certain body markings or certain accessories that match, again, your OC's appearance, or maybe it's their personality. Like for example, Orko has these little chest markings on his body, and then he also wears his medallion around his neck. So when I was designing Crag, I thought it would be cool if maybe he had his own little medallion, or maybe it's kind of like a collar meant to look like a medallion. And then I gave him the little body markings as well. So yeah, once you get the hang of the basic Chao anatomy and how each Chao looks, don't be afraid to have a little fun with it. Add different design elements, and then you can make a Chao that is, again, unique to your Sonic OC, or you can just draw your favorite Chao from the adventure games. And then that is how to draw Chows and how you can design your own Chao. Really hope you guys found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please give the video a like. And if you guys want more tutorials, check out this playlist right here so you guys can check out all the other Sonic drawing tutorials I've done. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and consider becoming a channel member for some exclusive perks and some behind the scenes content. But yeah, that's about it for me. See ya.